you geeks! This is part 2 of my ranking the boys of the Wheel of Time in their communication skills with women. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, check the link around here somewhere. This video covers the later 2/3 of the series, the place where boys become men.
We must be swift as the coursing river.
We'll start with the books that cover the midpoint of the series, that is books 5 through 10, which encompasses the slog, so it makes sense that a third of the plot fits into about half of the books. And then we will turn to their endgame and their growth in the final battles of these books. As always, let me know if you disagree with my rankings down in the comments as we go along. The midpoint. In most modern stories, the midpoint is where the hero makes a decisive decision that will forever change the course of his destiny, often for the worse. And in the Wheel of Time's quest for our boys to learn how to communicate with women and save the world, I guess. Our boys are no exception. Coming in at worst, we still have Rand. His relationships with Elaine, Min, and Aviendha just sours in this period to ultimate self-loathing on his part.
Loathing, unadulterated loathing.
Further, Rand cannot fathom that Aviendha, a warrior maiden, would willingly put herself at risk to be with him. Nor could Rand fathom that Min would want to make love with him. He had to be told that explicitly after the fact. Of course, once Rand realizes that Min is in love with him, he can only do one thing, and it is not what she wants him to do. Rand took a deep breath. Perrin had such a serene marriage with a smiling, gentle wife. Why was it that he was always drawn to women who spun his head like a top? If only he knew the 10th part of what Matt did about women, he would have known what to say to all that. But as it was, he could only blunder on. In any case, he said cautiously, there's only one thing I can do. And what might that be? She folded her arms tight beneath her breasts, and her foot began tapping ominously. But he knew it was the right thing to do. Send you away, just as he had Elaine and Aviendha. Rand consistently ignores the wishes of the women in his life and tries to manipulate them for their own good, of course. Even the warrior bond that gives him the ability to feel the women's feelings barely clues him in. Of course, it's not foolproof, as he is consistently misinterpreting what Alanna is feeling during this period. He also consistently misinterprets any Aes Sedai's intentions. Not that they make it easy for him, as they are totally trying to manipulate him by lying to him and, in some cases, themselves. No wonder it's during this period that Rand's madness begins to flare. Coming in second is Perrin. He started strong. Jordan had given him enough time to think before he spoke, and that allowed him to communicate effectively. But Fael and Berelain are not in the business of letting Perrin think.
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
In Lord of Chaos, Berelain's grooming on one side and Fael's sulking makes Perrin lose his cool. Stay right there. He backed away from Berelain, glaring hard enough to crack a stone wall. He could understand why Fael's jealousy was a cloud filling his nose, But why did she smell even more hurt than before? Few men can make me obey, Berylane laughed softly, but I think you are one. This unhealthy dynamic continues on the random side quest that Rand sent the women and Perrin on to get them away from danger and into the clutches of the Shido, or at least Fail into the clutches of the Shido, whereupon Perrin completely misinterprets whatever Berylane was offering in this scene. Perrin, I know you are hurting. There are things you might want to say that you can't to another man. I can't see you crying on Linny's shoulder, so I offer mine. We can call a truce until Fail is found. A truce? He said. Why do we need a truce? Very well, Perrin, if that's how you want it. Whatever that was supposed to mean. She sounded very determined. Suddenly he wondered whether his nose had failed him. Her scent was affronted, of all things. Perrin's obliviousness results in Berylane spreading vicious rumors about him. I don't excuse Berylaine's or Fail's behavior in these books. Rather, I'm just here to rank Perrin's response to them, and it isn't great. In contrast, Matt has gotten a lot better with women. He uses his newly unlocked skill of lying to women to get them all run screaming towards him.
Law, but someone has to strike, oppose, and bear the weight of a well-tailored clothes, and that is why the Lord created men.
Again, he's not being the most sincere when he's flirting, but in order to do so, Matt has to at least subconsciously understand a woman's unspoken communication and respond accordingly. He uses this skill not only to smooth things over with pretty women, but also to rile annoying women up when he has the chance, as he does in Ibu Dar with Elaine and Nynaeve. Headphone warning. You sound like you have an iron rod down your throat, my lady, he said mockingly. You have my permission to call me Matt. Odious man! He would not know civility if it bit him on the nose. That sanguine eye slanted towards her. What about you, Nynaeve? I've heard a lot of we from her, but not a word from you. I won't shout at you! Nynaeve shouted. Matt always acts to ensure that he is in control of the situation. Going into book 5, he is confident that he can say whatever it takes, truthful or otherwise, to get the girls doing exactly what he wants. But Jordan is not in the business of letting his men stay in their comfort zone. Hence why Jordan introduces Tylan into Matt's storyline. Had Tylan been a tavern maid who smiled the right way, he might have tried his luck. Well, if the tavern maid lacked the son who liked poking holes in people. But he was the one who chased. He had just never thought of it that way before. He had never had the need to before. Once that premise is undermined, Matt is in trouble with the ladies.
Trouble? No way. You're only in trouble if you get caught. Gotcha! I'm in trouble.
By book 10, Matt has left Tylan and captured a Shan-Chan princess. Who will control that relationship remains to be seen. Thus, at the midpoint, the men seem to have all established relationships with women with whom they do not understand. And Jordan says that these are the women that they love. The endings? By this ending of the Wheel of Time, the boys have all grown greatly into men, each able to understand women better, but in this growing, they've learned that women are not all one homogeneous class of creatures. Rather, each woman is able to communicate in her own way, and each man responds to that with varying levels of success. So, with our final rankings, we have Perrin coming in last. It was a very close call. Perrin doesn't so much learn to communicate with women, he learns to communicate with Fail. Does this mean we can have the reconciliation without the argument? She smiled. I will allow it this once, and of course, the servants have strict orders to ensure our solitude. He had Fail back, truly and completely. From Shanahar on, Perrin relies solely on Fail to navigate those treacherous feminine waters. It's Fail who sorts out Berylane. It's Fail who negotiates the treaty with Elaine. All Perrin does is show up and be Tarviran. Perrin notably biffs the marriage of Morghese and Talonvor and hangs out with cool dude Galad, who is also known for having bad communication skills. Though Perrin still maintains his unique ability to communicate with Egwene. Egwene smelled amazed. She spun on him. Balefire? You stopped Balefire? Nothing should be able to do that. It's just a weave. Yet, in the end, it doesn't even matter. Perrin is still so vulnerable to Lanfear. She gets him alone in the wolf dream, heals him, and compels him. Disappointing. I didn't want to have to choose that one. I find you much more appealing, Wolf. Suddenly, the shame of having failed in front of her crushed Perrin. When had he started worrying about what Lanfear thought of him? He couldn't quite point to it. Alone, Perrin even regresses to that shy country bumpkin who is unwilling to kill women, such as Grendel, even when they present
clear and present danger.
This may have been Lanfear's compulsion, only Sanderson knows, and he's not telling anyone.
The second is
Matt. He definitely biffed it at the finish line.
And he trips underwater. Who in the halibut trips underwater?
Part of this is he is navigating the heights of the Shan-Chan nobility, the proverbial path of daggers. In Knife of Dreams, he does so without effort, just being himself and starting a war. But of course, our hero's comfort is not in the interest of the authors. So, when we reach Gathering Storm, Brando Sando had to try and re-find Matt's niche, and his attempt is not very successful. Wait, no. Goats. Women are like goats, except every flaming one of them thinks she's a horse instead, and a prize-winning mare to boot. Do you understand me, Talmanas? Pure poetry, Matt, Talmanas said, tamping the tobacco down in his pipe. Sanderson also challenges Matt by making it clear that none of the characters around him are buying his lies anymore. Rather, they just put up with him for the fun of it. Yet, in Towers of Midnight, Matt does reach a point of maturity where he, over Perrin, can negotiate a treaty with the pregnant, unstable Queen Elaine. Matt said, I'll do what's right. What you see as being right, she corrected. Every man should have that option, he replied. Few use it wisely. We want it anyway, Matt said. We demand it. She glanced, almost imperceptibly, toward the plans and the medallion on the table. You have it, she said. In the end, Matt's fatal flaw, and what almost sunk him to the bottom of this ranking, is that he is in love with Tuon, a woman he cannot read even when the world is at stake, as we see when the Shan-Chan flee the scene of the last battle. In a way, Tuon wanted to do as she said, and fight in the south instead. To do that, of course, would be to ignore the breaking sky, the trembling land, and the Dragon Reborn's fight. These were not omens she could let pass her by. Matt stalked away, calming his anger. Tuon had seemed really angry at him. Light! She would come back when he needed her to, would she not? Matt's story ends with him returning to Tuon, who says she will now try to assassinate him. Not sure how I feel about that.
All the convoluted reasons we pretend to be divorced.
Surprisingly, in a twist ending, come from behind, upset win over Matt and Perrin, Rand ends the Wheel of Time with the best understanding of women.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes!
This is quite surprising, as up and until the Gathering Storm, he continues to make all the negative assumptions about all the women who accompany him, even growing to doubt his old village wisdom, Nynaeve. She was silent, although her face took on a profound sadness. "Oh, Rand," she finally said, "you can't go on like this. This hardness within you, it will break you." "I do what I must," he said, anger creeping into him. Would he never hear the end of complaints about his choices? "This isn't what you must do, Rand," she said. "You're going to destroy yourself. Rand's anger surged. He spun, pointing at her. "Would you end up exiled like Cadswain, Nynaeve?" he bellowed. "I will not be played with. I am done with that. Give advice when it is asked for, and the rest of the time, do not patronize me."
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
But after Dragonmount, Rand is finally able to see people for who they are, both women and men, and himself. He is able to neatly put Cadswain in her place, while also learning to accept the love that Elaine Min and Avienda have for him, and not hating himself for it. "I almost killed you," he whispered. "When you look at me, you see a murderer. You feel my hand at your throat." "What?" "Of course I don't, Rand. Meet my eyes. You can sense me through the bond. Do you feel a sliver of hesitation or fear from me?" He searched her eyes with his own, so deep. She didn't back down. She could meet the eyes of the sheep herder. He sat up straighter. "Oh, Min, what would I do without you?" Thus, for the first time, we have Rand understanding a woman who is in love with him. Shocking, I know. Yet this new level of goodwill towards women is not universal from Rand, as he still has a beef with Egwene. He waltzes into her White Tower, announces he is going to break the seals of the Dark One's prison, and walks away, just like an Aes Sedai.
Will you be good enough to explain all this?
First of all, I would like to make one thing quite clear.
Yes.
I never explain anything.
His game to manipulate Egwene into gathering the leaders of the world who would oppose him and then change her mind at the feel of Marilor demonstrates an understanding of Egwene far better than we have seen from Rand any time previously in these books. And yet, when push comes to shove, the only thing he can really say to her is... Rand stared at her for a moment. "Well, you could certainly stop being a spoiled, self-certain, unmitigated brat for once, Egwene." He threw up his arms. "Blood and ashes. This was a waste of time." Which is not the best way to convince a woman to break the seals of the Dark One's prison, or keep the world from breaking again. Fortunately, it's at that moment Moiraine arrives, a woman that Zenrand can communicate with easily, and working with her and Nynaeve, Rand is able to communicate with all women and save the world.
Oh, life can escape being blown about by the winds of change and chance. And no, you never know all the steps.
Dance with me.
You must learn to join the dance.
In sum, all of our heroes grew in their understanding of women, yet only Rand achieves a relative competency with most women, including the 3 he loves. Mat and Perrin still have problems. I don't know whether this is because Jordan left so few notes on them for Sando to write on, or because Jordan was also planning on finishing their arcs in the Outrigger novels about the Shan-Chan Empire. In order to have a story, the characters must still have problems, so it's fair that Mat and Perrin end with more problems than Rand, who rides off into the sunset with his lit pipe and a firm understanding of most living women on the Wheel of Time. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you would like to see more, and leave a comment if you think my rankings are wrong. See you next week. Bye!